And this meeting is now live streamed. We've got 2 more minutes before we begin. Glad to see Andy Willingham here, as this will be the Andy Willingham show tonight.
Sounds exciting.
Very good job, Andy. I've gone through all of your, I picked up my packet today. You did a terrific job on your projects. Very, very good.
Thanks, Dennis.
Zach, is that you? I didn't think you would be here.
Sorry, just had some technical difficulties. No, I wanted to be here for this meeting.
I'm very impressed. You're a better person than I.
Okay, so let's get started, if you would, please. So welcome everyone to the Village of New Paltz Planning Board regular meeting of Tuesday, October 5th, 2021, 7 p.m. via remote access. Meeting will be held via Zoom, and if you would like to participate in the Zoom meeting, there is a link to it. As well, we are being live streamed on YouTube. So with that in mind, we do have quite a full agenda this evening. We have administrative business, including approval of minutes and some updates, period of time for public comment. Then we will have 3 public hearings, one on PB 2103, Huguenot Street, and then PB 2109, Front Street, and PB 2104 at 5 Plattekill Avenue. Those will also be accompanied by application reviews for each of those that are part of the public hearings. As well, we will be working through more of the site plan for PB 2014-85 North Chestnut Street. So let's get started. And the first thing that we're going to do is to take care of some administrative business. Did everyone get a chance to look at the minutes from last week? They were quite detailed, lots of activity that went on, quite a bit to look at. Did everyone get a chance to look at those?
Yes.
Yes.
Are there any additions, subtractions, edits, comments that need to be made on this? If not, then I would like to, the chair would like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes for.
So motion.
And a second, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 So the minutes are approved for September 21st, 2021. So now we will be moving to Village Board, Ulster County Planning Board, Environmental Planning Board update. I did notice that William Murray is here, so if you would like to give us some updates, William.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for participating in tonight's meeting. Just a couple of things. Our firehouse is moving along at a pretty good clip. We had some delays at the beginning and during the summer, but at the present moment, if you drive by, you'll see that it's taking shape quite rapidly. Of course, we'd like to get the building sealed up before the winter hits so that our subcontractors can do their work inside without being interfered with by the weather. We put out an RFP for the Ann Oliver House at 5 Broadhead Avenue. That RFP is looking for folks who might want to renovate that property and turn it into suitable housing. You can go to the new Village of New Paltz website and take a look for information there. It's the Ann Oliver House, 5 Broadhead. I encourage everyone to take a look. It's a wonderful structure, has great historic significance, built by a Black carpenter who was a Civil War veteran. And we're trying to keep it as a home. It was donated to the village by Stewarts when they took over that property and granted the structure to us. The other update is the village board continues its review of a proposed good cause law, the right to renew. It's been a very active period of time with lots of community input. We're moving forward with that, and we'll be having a workshop meeting tomorrow at 7 p.m. if you want to tune in or join. And those are my 3 updates.
Very well. Thank you very much. Taking the time. Is there anyone here from the Ulster County Planning Board or from the Environmental Planning Board?
That would be me, and I was unable to attend the last meeting at Ulster County Planning Board due to a conflict.
Okay. All right. If there are no further updates, then we are going to move on to the public comment. A note, please, here on the public comments. The public comments will be held open throughout the meeting as we do rely on some online comments to be presented, and they sometimes don't receive, they're not timely, so that we want to allow people to make comments. So we'll be leaving that throughout the evening. Is there anyone here that wants to speak to anything in particular on the public comments? Alana, do you have anybody?
Not that I'm seeing right now.
Okay. Very good. So then let's move on to the third part, to the third part of our meeting, public hearings. We are going to begin with a public hearing on PB 2103, 191, 193 Huguenot Street. The applicant is Holly Hasbrook. The zoning district is H. With that, I would like a motion to open the public hearing, please.
So motioned.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 So the public hearing is now officially open. Is there anyone here who wants to speak to the application PB 2103, 191, 193 Huguenot Street? Okay, hearing none. I am going to ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So motioned.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So the
Aye.
public hearing on PB 2103 is now closed. Moving on to our second public hearing, PB 2109, 25 North Front Street. Applicant is Augusta Yearwood. The zoning district is B2. So with that in mind, the chair would like a motion to open the public hearing.
So motioned.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 So the public hearing is now open on PB 2109, 25 North Front Street. Is there anyone present who would like to speak to that application? Hearing none, then we are going to move. I would like to, the chair would like to get a motion to close the public hearing for PB 2109, 25 North Front Street.
So motioned.
And
Second.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So the motion has passed. The public hearing for PB 2109 is now closed. We're going to move to the third public hearing for PB 2104, 5 Plattekill Avenue. Applicant is Brian Keenan. Chair would like a motion to open the public hearing.
So motioned.
Second.
Please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Alana, you received a comment on the public hearing that wants to be presented by on the public hearing.
Yes, we got a letter from Claire Hussein that I forwarded to all members. That was the only one that I did receive in writing. I had a brief conversation with Helen Rocco, it's Tom Rocco's wife, and she didn't submit anything in writing, but I just kind of filled her in on some stuff. But I thought maybe she was going to call in, but I don't see her, so
Okay.
I think her concerns got resolved.
Okay. Would you like to read the notice that you got in by email?
I can. You just got to give me 1 second just so I can bring it up. So this is from Claire Hussein. She owns Runa on 10 Plattekill Avenue. Dear Chairman Litton and board members, I am the owner of 1012 Plattekill Avenue, located directly across from 5 Plattekill Avenue, where there is a proposed development of a restaurant with a 4 a.m. liquor license. I write this letter to register my opposition to this development, outlining my reasons for my objections. I am a business owner, the proprietor of the restaurant Runa and the adjacent guest house, the Vanderlyn. The Vanderlyn is currently being managed with Airbnb due to some village constraints, limbo enforcements. Both of these popular businesses bring guests into New Paltz, with the Vanderlyn especially bringing an ongoing stream of visitors from New York City, which has a positive impact on other local businesses here, food and shopping included. However, over the last year, I have had guests complain about the loud music that is playing from the establishment P&G's, with runoff crowds departing after 4 a.m. They have also registered complaints about a lot of littering up and down Plattekill Avenue because of these crowds. By approving the development of yet another late night restaurant bar, which is even closer to my guest house, my guests will have further increases in late night noise and traffic, and my business will be further impacted. This has ramifications to the town more generally, of which my restaurant and guest house are a key part. I think it is safe to say, as part of the overall planning of New Paltz Village, we all as residents and business owners want to establish a balanced cross-section of units. New Paltz is already inundated with late night, early morning establishments in near proximity. Opening another establishment with late night revelry is only adding to the over surplus type of businesses. While I understand that New Paltz has a large enclave of students, and I also understand it, of course, makes sense to capitalize on this, it is also vital to also try to balance the type of eateries in the village. In applying for my state liquor authority license for Runa, I was informed that a specific amount of full liquor licenses are granted within specific areas. I find it hard to believe that another license will be granted within this specific zone, given the proximity of full licenses already in play. If this is not the case, I would also like to understand how this has been granted. I appreciate the Village Planning Board taking a balanced, long-term outlook for New Paltz in this matter. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to hearing from you. That's it.
Thank you for that. We appreciate the reading, and we also appreciate the comments by the individual, Ms. Hussein, who owns Runa.
She actually just called in. She just showed up.
Okay. If she would like to make a live comment, Ms. Hussein, if you would like to make a comment, please feel free, just unmute yourself, and we'll be happy to entertain your comments.
Hi there, apologies for jumping on this late. I'm husbandless at the moment and my kids were not cooperating. Yes, so I understand that you've just read the letter. I missed that. I did have the opportunity to meet with Brian yesterday and walk through the space and speak in detail about his plans for the project, and I am feeling a lot more comfortable with what his vision is, and it was very much a sort of a neighborly community thing that, you know, I encountered for you know, the first time as a business owner in the last couple of years, obviously because of COVID and whatnot. But I think you know, my objections in the letter were, you know, noise ordinances and you know, the overall approach to adding more 4 a.m. student revelry to the scene, which I I'm not going to lie, I will still continue to be, concerned about that, just because it does directly impact my business. But I do at this point understand what Brian is trying to do, and I am in support of his project. So I have changed my stance. So let it be known for the record.
Thank you. We do appreciate you coming on and making a comment, and even more so, we appreciate that you reached out directly to Brian and were able to resolve the issues that you had person to person. That's always infinitely more effective manner of doing things. So we do thank you for that. Alana, are there any other public comments that are open now that we've gotten either by
No, I'm not seeing anybody else.
okay, very good. So with that in mind, then I would like to entertain a motion to close the public hearing for PB 2104.
So moved.
A second,
Second,
all in favor?
aye.
So with that, the public hearing on PB 2104 is closed. All the public hearings have now been closed, and we will be moving to application reviews. The first application review that we have is PB 2103, 191, 193 Huguenot Street. Ms. Hasbrook is here, so let's take a look at that application. So my question, I guess I have is, we have all the necessary material from the applicant, I believe. In speaking with our attorney earlier today, it appears that we did receive, and let me move up here quickly. That we did receive information from you, and I think that requires everything that is done. We received the written recommendation of the Superintendent of Public Works, and that looks like everything is all clear. Ask our attorney, is that indeed the fact that we do have everything open? I mean, everything is now submitted and closed and accepted.
Yes, the couple of remaining items were the driveway maintenance agreement had to be approved by me. The applicant submitted a draft. We revised it, and as revised, that satisfies the condition that it's an approved driveway maintenance easement. And one of the final things that needed to come in is a position from the DPW on subdivisions. The applicant is required to reach out. The DPW today responded in an email saying that the subdivision plan is satisfactory.
Very good. So with that information and the fact that everyone does now have a copy of the easement agreement in their packet, which has been approved by attorney, it appears that all of the issues that were related have been cured. So I would like to get a sense of the board on any further issues or objections or comments to the application. So let's just generally go around the room. And Rachel, do you have anything that you still are interested in discussing, or are you?
No.
Okay, Zach, how are you on this?
No, everything looks good to me.
Okay, Dennis,
No, everything is fine.
very good. So understanding that, then the chair would like to, has gotten a sense of the board, having satisfied all outstanding issues and hearing no further objections. I would like to, the chair would like to get a motion to approve the application PB 2103, 191, 193 Huguenot Street.
So
So
motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
your typical practice is to at least, I mean, the approval would be in the form of the resolution that was circulated to everyone And you normally read out the specific conditions. It's not required, but just as a matter of practice.
Let me pick up those, that resolution here, if I can get down to that.
And one of the, just while you're looking for that, one of the findings in the resolution as requested by the board is a finding that the village has a need for public parkland and rec facilities, but that the subdivision does not present a proper case for requiring a park or public or park suitably located for recreational purposes. And the new lot will not presently contribute to the village's need for public parkland and recreational facilities. And thus there's no need for either a set aside of public parkland or a parkland recreation fee.
Rick, there's just a typo on page 5. A copy of the recorded document with proof of such recording submitted to the building department. They're just missing an R.
Okay. Would you be able to take care of that,
Yeah,
Alana?
yeah, yeah. If I can just do it, then I'm gonna fix it.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.
My apologies, I'm not having that in front of me. So yes, we do have the draft resolution then. So what we're going to do is look at this draft resolution. There we go. So this is a draft resolution. Application summary is listed with the estate of the estate of Richard R. Hasbrook. Here and after the applicant proposes to subdivide a 5.241 acre parcel into 2 separate lots. Proposed lot will be 2.005 acres and proposed lot number 2 will be 3.236 acres. No new construction is proposed. Property is the subject of this resolution is located along Huguenot Street and is shown on the tax map. The following are the plans and submittals that form the basis of the planning board's action in this matter. Application for subdivision approval, full environmental assessment form parts 1, 2, and 3, and a map of the proposed subdivision of lands. This application was filed on or about April 13, 2021. And the procedural history then goes on to talk about the planning board's actions, issuing a negative declaration on the application under seeker, public notice, and the fact that this was not referred to the Ulster County Planning Board. The findings were the planning board acting in accordance with the subdivision powers delegated to it has determined that the approval of this subdivision is consistent with the orderly and efficient and economical development of the village and the character of the land is such that it can be used safely for building purposes. Planning board has found that the proposed subdivision complies with the village New Paltz land subdivision regulations. The proper provisions have been made for water supply, drainage, sewage, and other needed public improvements. Planning board has further found that the village has a need for public parkland and recreational facilities, including improvement of existing recreation, but the subdivision does not present a proper case for requiring a park or park suitably located for recreational purposes, as the new residential lot is already improved with the residents and no new residence is proposed or allowed under the village zoning law. The resolution of approval is now therefore the planning board of the village of New Paltz hereby resolves to issue preliminary and final subdivision approval to the application of the estate of Richard R. Hasbrook, but only as specifically set forth on the plans as identified above or as subsequently revised in accordance with the resolution, further conditioned as set forth below. In granting the final subdivision approval plan, the planning board hereby waives a public hearing in connection with the final subdivision plat, as the final plat is a substantial agreement with the preliminary plat. Planning board chair is hereby authorized to sign such plans and other documents evidencing the approval only in strict accordance with all the terms and conditions of this resolution of approval. The specific conditions are Simultaneous with the filing of the deeds related to the plot, the applicant shall file the common driveway easement and shared maintenance agreement in form as approved by the planning board attorney. Such instruments must be recorded in the Ulster County Clerk's office as a condition of this approval. And a copy of the recorded document with proof of such recording submitted to the building department. All conditions attached to the grant of area variances issued by the Village of New Paltz Zoning Board of Appeals, dated August 11th, 2021, and filed in the office of the village clerk on August 12th, 2021, are made part of this approval, and this approval is subject to the same as if those conditions were set forth at length herein. General conditions: resolution is conditioned upon the applicant submitting all necessary final copies of the plans, reports, and documents to the Village of New Paltz building inspector. All other approvals that are needed by operation of federal, state, or local laws and regulations, whether or not noted in the specific conditions of this resolution, including but not limited to, and it gives a list of the various departments. All fees regarding this application must be paid in full, including all application fees, other fees required by the village code, and the fees of the planning board consultants, including all engineering, planning, and legal fees. Any bonds or other security required by the resolution shall be submitted in a timely manner. Applicant shall submit a final subdivision plat in accordance with the village code. Prior to the signing of that plat, the applicant shall submit written confirmation from a surveyor that boundary monuments and markers have been placed in accordance with the village code. In accordance with the village code, any subdivision plat not filed or recorded in the office of the county clerk within 90 days of the date upon which the plat is approved shall become null and void unless particular circumstances of said subdivider warrant the planning board to grant an extension. No charges, erasures, and modifications or revisions shall be made in any subdivision plat after approval has been given by the planning board. So with all of that information, we would like to get a motion to approve this. All in favor of approval of this this resolution?
Aye.
Aye.
All against? Any abstentions? We will list who all is absent here. And so with that, the resolution has passed, and we are complete with that application. Thank you, Ms. Hasbrook.
Thank you. My mute.
You are on.
Now you're muted.
Holly, you're muted.
Okay, thank you.
You are quite welcome. Okay, so we are now moving on to the next item on our agenda, which is a site plan and change of use for PB 2109 25 North Front Street. Applicant is Lagusta Yearwood. So a quick summary on this. This is an application for site plan approval to change the use of an existing apartment in a mixed-use building, residential and retail, to offices. Property consists of 0.31 acres in the B2 Core Business District. This is a type 2 action. The property is within 500 feet of State Route 32, but the application is exempt per the agreement with the Ulster County Planning Board if the following conditions are met. Increase in parking is not required, which has been certified. Channelized access to state or county roadway exists and is proposed, and new site lighting, if proposed, utilizes full cutoff luminaries and does not exceed the IEA lighting levels. We did hold a public hearing and closed tonight on 10/5/21. So I believe all the issues that are outstanding have been cleared. Is that correct?
Yes. So the only thing that we changed was the lighting. We found that the front light on the front of the building was dark sky compliant, and then it's also lit by a pole on Front Street. So that was fine. The back did have a floodlight, so we changed with the new plan, changed it out with a dark sky light, and we have a photometric on the plan.
Okay. And those are noted on the plans, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Very good. So understanding that. Let me move then. So understanding that, then what we're going to do is get a sense from the board. Does the board have any other questions, issues that they would like to bring up at this time?
I just want to say that I don't like the idea that in this case, the perfect is the enemy of the good, because we didn't get to have a sidewalk because the requirement was that it had to be 5 feet wide. Am I on the wrong? I'm sorry. I stopped paying attention for a second. Are we on the, I'm not on the wrong topic, am I?
This is Front Street.
Oh, Front Street. Oh, no, nothing, no comments. It's the, yeah, forget about it.
Okay,
I thought we'd done, I thought we were on the next one, sorry.
that's fine. So anyone else comments or issues that need to be discussed now?
I have none.
No,
Okay, Zach?
No, looks all totally fine to me.
This is probably as easy as it's going to get for the planning board. With that in mind, since the board here, we are going to read the resolution, and then we will look to determine the vote for approval of the application. So then it starts with on or about August 23rd, Ms. Augusta Yearwood applied for site approval for a change of use for 25 North Front Street to change the use from an existing structure on site from mixed use to commercial only. The following are significant plans and other submittals that formed in part the basis for the planning board's action in this matter. The Village of New Paltz site plan, change of use application dated August 23rd and submitted by Willingham Engineering. The site plan dated August 23rd, 2021, submitted by Willingham Engineering. Whereas the proposed project is located in the B2 zoning district and requires site plan approval, and whereas the applicant submitted a short environmental assessment form dated July 22nd, 2021, and whereas on September 21st, 2021, the planning board determined that the application was administratively complete, and it was determined that a referral to the UCPB pursuant to the section 239M of the general municipal law was not required. And whereas on September 21st, 2021, the planning board classified the action as a type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act. And whereas a duly noticed public hearing on the application was held on October 5th, 2021 by a live stream at which all those wishing to be heard were given the opportunity to speak. Now, therefore, it's hereby resolved by the Village of New Paltz Planning Board that the proposed site plan change of use approval for 25 North Front Street, SBL number 86.34-2-1, to change the use of an existing structure on site from mixed use, commercial and residential, to commercial only, as shown on the site plan dated August 23rd, 2021, and with the modification of the lighting that was done tonight, is hereby approved subject to the following condition. The village's right to enter upon the property for purpose of inspecting and payment of all fees and final site plan as submitted. So we're going to take then a voice vote on those who are in favor of approving this application. Aye.
I need a motion and I need a second, John.
Okay, so then we need a motion to approve this resolution.
so moved.
A second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? And there are no abstentions. So with that, the motion has been approved. The resolution of the site plan has been approved as well. And thank you, Ms. Yearwood. We appreciate it. And there we are.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Bye.
Sorry.
Let me close a few items here. Okay, so we are now moving to the next one. It is a site plan review. Planning Board PB 21045 Plattekill Avenue. The applicant is Brian Keenan. Zoning district is B2. So everyone is aware of the summary application for site plan, special use permit, approval for a bar and outdoor cafe and restaurant. Property consisting of approximately 0.41 acres along Plattekill Avenue. This is behind the McGillicuddy's area. Currently improving the existing mixed-use building. Applicant seeking to replace the existing retail space with a proposed bar and outdoor cafe restaurant. Parking for the outdoor cafe restaurant will primarily be provided in the adjacent municipal parking lot. Privacy fence and landscaping are proposed for around the outdoor seating area. Board previously determined it's the type 2 action. Referral. Ulster County Planning Board gave this recommendation with the following required modification. Truck turning templates to demonstrate there is adequate room for truck traffic to access the site will need to be provided by the planning board for its review. At our meeting on the September 21st, we overruled this comment because no trucks will be entering the parking area other than a garbage truck, which will be backing in instead of turning around. So this will be a condition of approval, including a requirement that the applicant install signage stating no delivery trucks beyond this point at the entrance of the parking area. Because we are overriding a recommendation from the Ulster County Planning Board, an approval will require a supermajority, at least 4 affirmative votes. So Rick, what is the point of order, the formal way of overruling this?
Well, you've already said that you're going to overrule it. However, the way the law is written, state law is written, is that you have no jurisdiction to override it except by a vote on the approval of a supermajority. And therefore, when you eventually make a decision on this application, you need to have 4 votes. If only 3 people are there or only 4 people are there and the vote is 3-1, it would not pass as a resolution.
Very good. So with that in mind now, public hearing was held tonight. The ZBA variance was granted on September 14th to allow the bar to be within 500 feet of the school and church. So really we're to the point of our next steps. Rick, do you want to take us through the next steps that need to be completed?
Well, it's to continue looking at the plans and answer any questions that you have or ask any questions you have of Andy. There is some issues dealing with the canopy. I believe that there was going to be some
one of the items is plan changes with updated architectural elevation drawings. We only see a revised landscape plan. Andy, have you given us the updated architectural elevation drawings?
Yeah, maybe I could just summarize the changes that in this last submittal, which include that. If that's okay.
You can share your screen if you want to too, Andy.
Okay. Most of them I can kind of explain. We did add signage for the no delivery trucks past that point in the entrance. We provided a new application with the correct LLC. The LLC name wasn't quite right on it. We updated some notes on the plan that Rick suggested we update. I believe Corey had a couple different determinations on some code things for residential. The dumpster detail was added to the plan because the code requires it to be enclosed. The Historic Preservation Commission, I did speak with Tom Olson and basically said that they did look at this in April, that they didn't have any issues historically with it, but they did want to see the elevations again to look at materials, some of the materials. So we need to go back and see them on the 20th. We had some issues with the sign details that Rick caught. They weren't quite meeting the code, so we fixed all that. And then finally, the one that you just mentioned, John, the architecturals need to have all the building materials on it. So we resubmitted those showing all the materials.
When were those submitted, Andy?
It was part of this last submittal on last Monday or
Okay.
Tuesday. It's not much. I could pull it up on the screen. And basically, the only thing that was missing was the canopy materials.
Is the floor gonna remain asphalt, or are you putting something on top of that? I can hardly read the specifications, it's so tiny.
It's gonna stay asphalt.
Stay asphalt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of it's getting taken out for plantings and planters, but yeah.
It's a pity.
So Andy, on the plans, I have the building renovation proposed floor plan. And I have the site plan that is dated 1/26/21. This has the parking table, the plant schedule, planting notes.
The revision should be on the bottom and the middle there. Should be a bunch of revision dates.
Revisions for planning board submittal 9/27/21. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And then on the other drawing, the second sheet, the elevations and after the floor plan on the other set of drawings that Kim Hoover did, who's here, by the way. That has the elevation view with the canopy information on it. And why don't I just pull that up? Does that make sense?
Rick, do you have a copy of that?
I'm looking at the Google Drive that Alana had given a link to, and I don't see these September.
Look
Oh.
at, there's a folder that's dated September 28th submission. It should be in there.
Yeah, I see that file.
When I look at it, when I look at the drawing, it looks like it's enclosed by a wall with a kind of gate. I mean, when I look at and then when I look at the artistic rendering of it, it looks more like it's open.
Yeah, it's wide open. It's just a canopy over the top of the entrance.
Right, but I mean, surrounding it, is it open to the parking lot, or is there a wall? It looks when you look at like where the tables are, you know, that part of it, when you look at it, it looks like there's, you know, like it's got those little things that look like a door. You know what I mean? Like it looks like there's a wall around it. So what I'm asking is it wide open to the parking lot, or is there a wall around it?
So you're talking about the outside perimeter?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the entrance is going to be concrete planters that are like 36 or 42 inch high with plant that are all going to be planted, and a wrought iron looking gate. There's a detail on the plan that's going to go all the way around it to kind of separate. You see through it, but it'll kind of separate the, you know, people that are eating from the parking lot, but you can still see through it. And then all kinds of plantings on the inside and outside around the fence.
Okay. Are there any plantings on the strip between the two parking lots as you enter from Plattekill Avenue?
Between the retaining wall and the parking lot?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think the wall is right up against the pavement, and that's on village property. But we're planting the top of the wall, which is owned by the applicant.
In that area that's marked as the proposed rain garden, was that always a rain garden, or was there, I thought there was going to be a tree there before? Did that change?
No, that didn't change. We kind of threw that in because the water kind of all goes in that direction, and it's a way to just kind of slow it down a little bit and have something planted that's nice to absorb the water. But that was always there. I believe. I don't think we changed that.
Is that on the corner?
Yeah.
I'm just having a hard time seeing this.
That where you now have the Oktoberfest maiden grass, Carly Rose, avalanche feather wheatgrass, foxtail feather wheatgrass. That corner.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we could put a tree if that's something the board. The landscape architect is here, by the way, that works with us, Eileen Travis, for this project and for the next one. So if you guys have any questions for her.
It would be nice to see some more trees. I feel like that parking lot, it's like a big sea of asphalt and there isn't much shade. I mean, there's just the 2 trees that exist on the property right now. And the one big one looks like it looks neglected. It looks like it could use some help.
I think that it would probably be fine to add a tree especially in like the rain garden area. We could probably get a red maple or something that doesn't mind getting wet occasionally. I don't have any problem with that. I don't think that the applicant would either. So I think that would be fine. I think that I was hesitant to put a lot of trees in because we do not own a lot of property on the top side of the wall. And I was a little cautious about the wall when Andy and I had done several site visits about the condition of and the age of the wall and not having a lot of trees planted behind them and possibly impact the structural integrity of the wall.
Who would you have to get permission from to put trees there? From the village board?
On village property would require the village board to grant an easement to them in order to allow that to occur with, I would think, various bonding and other requirements, if in fact the board was willing to go ahead and allow plantings on village property.
Well, the issue isn't the property. The issue is there really isn't any spot to put them between the wall and the parking lot because the parking lot goes right up to the wall. The issue is that
I thought that Rachel was asking about making those plantings in the parking lot on village property.
Oh, is that what you're saying, to actually do trees out in the parking lot?
Yeah. I mean, it's a shame. It's too bad you couldn't put anything beside, put something white, or put concrete or something rather than just leaving it asphalt. It's not a great surface to.
Hey, listen, could I throw something in? If we're going to be putting up these trees, do we take into consideration having to snow plow? I've looked at this plan here that Andy and the architect, the landscape architect put together. I think it's very, very good. The other thing is, if you put up trees, are you going to put too much shade over some of the proposed plants? So I'm against putting up trees.
Actually, I appreciate you say that, and Dennis, because all of the plants that I had selected are selected for full sun, which is exactly the conditions that are there right now. So yes, that is a very good point. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Yeah, well,
I'll just-
while I would like to see a tree in that corner, I can understand not, needing to not damage the wall with the roots, and also wanting to allow the other plants to grow. So I'm okay with the current landscaping plan.
But Eileen, I think we could put maybe a smaller tree in that corner, right? Maybe not something that gets massive and is gonna knock the wall over, but something maybe smaller.
Yeah, I think that we could probably come up with something, under 25 feet, and that would give a little bit of shade and also maybe not have such large leaf matter and a large root system. I think that if we go with a smaller kind of tree, or like maybe a Japanese red maple, which are not native. I love using natives, so I can't think of anything off the top of my head that would be that small, but
Serviceberry?
we could certainly put a
Those
serviceberry in. Yes, an Amelanchier would be very nice, especially in a low dish, kind of rain garden area. So yes, I think would be fine if that's what you would. If that's what the board would request, I think that would work very well, actually.
I personally think that would be a good compromise and would allow both points to be met. We certainly don't want to create any damage to the structural integrity of the wall. Having another tree there that is especially a native tree that could provide a small bit of shade and break up the heat that's going to be generated there, and I think that's a good compromise. So if you could do that, I think that would be a good way to go.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Andy, you'll add that to the plan for your final revision of these plans, because there will be a couple of things that I think will require potential changes in the plans.
Yes.
Thank you.
I wish that somehow we could progress past asphalt as our universal surfacing material. I don't know. I mean, I guess there's no requirement for that, but I don't know why everybody loves asphalt so much.
Easy to repair and easy to clean.
Is it that easy to clean?
Yeah.
Isn't concrete easier to clean? Because it has a
Concrete.
smooth surface, you can just mop it, And it's
Concrete,
a light,
concrete, it would be a
light
lot
color.
more expensive and it's still impervious. Asphalt is the quick, easy way to go, and it's very good for people who have to do snow plowing. Concrete's a very expensive process. And again,
they
it's still impervious.
No, I mean on the area where the tables are they gonna plow that in the winter?
No, they aren't.
I wouldn't think so.
Oh,
Are
but
the tables-
they have to clean them off.
Well, I am fine with them continuing with the pavement. Have no issue with that. So let's look then. So what we've done in terms of the issues, the parking table. We've looked at the issues that have to be resolved with that, the footnotes, text footnote. The CRIS system indicates that the buildings listed on the State Register of Historic Places and is in New Paltz Downtown Historic District. So the Historic Preservation Committee will be reviewing the project at its 10/20/21 meeting. The HPC reviewed it previously back in April and will be reviewing the additional details that have been added to the elevation drawings at their meeting. And so we're going to have to wait until they meet to look at what actions they decide that they are taking.
John, I think that you had wanted to add a note on the plans and potentially signage with respect to not having any commercial parking on the site.
Yeah, I'm headed that direction in my notes. You beat me there.
No, I'm sorry.
No, that's quite all right. The one of the issues was commercial parking. And as a condition of approval, we've had that no truck shall enter the property with garbage trucks. There's going to be a sign that will be there. I would also like to ask, because there's an issue with no commercial parking. I would also like to ask, as a condition of approval, if the applicant would be willing to also place on the sign that we have no commercial parking in that area. Brian, if we're not going to allow beer trucks to park back in that area, and Cisco trucks or whomever's your preferred vendor parking there, I don't see that would create any problems, and it would, of course, fulfill a condition there.
We don't have a problem with that. We did put a sign on there on the plan already that says no delivery trucks beyond this point. But yeah, I think that we can add that as well, I would think, right, Brian?
Yes, yeah, that's fine.
Okay. I mean, so we're just stating the obvious. Okay, let's see, where do we go with this next, Rick? What do we need to do here?
Well, you'll have to wait until the Historic Historic Preservation Commission acts on October 20th, which is the day after your next planning board meeting. So I think that they cannot be listed until, I think it's the November 2nd
Right.
meeting. And the board, if it feels comfortable with the discussions now, and obviously subject to any change that may come as a result of the comments from the Historic Preservation Commission, is that you can authorize me to draft a resolution for your November 2nd meeting.
Okay. Are there any other discussions right now? Because we are kind of at a point where we can't move any farther. We do have to wait until the Historic Preservation Committee has their meeting, and we don't meet until the day before, actually, their meeting. And so it's going to be the November meeting before we get a chance to wrap this up. Any more discussions that we think need to be heard, or issues that we need to discuss? Okay. So with that in mind, the chair would like to get a motion to have our attorney create a draft proposal of approval for the application with the conditions that we have stated and noted on November 2nd meeting. And it will also include any recommendations that are proposed by the Historic Preservation Committee. So I'd like to get a motion to create a draft proposal of approval for the application.
So motioned.
Second,
Second,
all in favor?
aye.
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 Thank you. So what we're going to do, the motion has carried, and we're going to have a draft approval written by the attorney to be reviewed at our next meeting. Actually, to be reviewed in our November meeting, following the Historic Preservation Committee meeting and their weigh in on it. Okay.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Very much, Brian. Thank you. Do appreciate it, Ms. Travis, on that, and I'm sure you're going to be here for the next one as well.
Great.
Okay, so the next issue that we are going to be working through is site plan for PB 2014 85 North Chestnut Street. Applicant is Roddy Serta. Zoning is NBR. We have quite a few things to work through on this. So, Mr. Dempsey, I see that you're here instead of Mr. Carlito.
Yes, he's stuck in another hearing, so I'm filling in for him, but I'm familiar with the application.
Very good. You will have an opportunity to address the board here in just a few minutes. So we're all familiar with the summary of the property and seeker, and that we referred this to the Ulster County Planning Board. They gave their recommendations with 3 modifications and 1 advisory comment. And so, Rick, do you want to kind of lead us through the issues that we need to go through on this?
Well, I've given a copy of my detailed notes to all the planning board members as well as to Andy Willingham ahead of time. So I don't think there's a need to go over specifically all of those. With respect to the Ulster County Planning Board, they had 3 mandatory requirements. And again, this is important because it needs a supermajority vote, which means that you would have to have 4 affirmative votes on any approval. The first is a final approval of proposed access by DOT. Now, one that's required regardless. This board would never do anything that was contrary to the DOT findings of what is an adequate access. And they are the ones that control that. Typically, you will know that access before you would take final decision on that, and we can ask Andy for an update on the DOT review. But that's one issue. The second issue for the Ulster County Planning Board is dealing with signage details. And although the mandatory requirement is that it must meet the standards of the village zoning statute, again, something that would be required regardless. But also with respect to signage, they had an advisory comment, not subject to the mandatory supermajority override, but an advisory comment that was related to signage, saying that there ought to be a master signage plan along the storefronts combined with an architectural feature, potentially one that wraps around the building, may help to further define the building as a mixed-use structure. So I think Andy can or should address the signage issue and how he plans to address the signage issue and whether or not there will be a master signage plan. And then the last of the 3 mandatory is that they need to look at the New York State Energy Code and try to make accommodations to that. As Andy has stated in the past, they have decided to go ahead and take that to heart and have produced some mechanicals that would meet that standard. And you will be looking at that tonight as part of the revised plans and the screening that would be necessary, because now these mechanicals, and there's quite a number of them, are going to be along the back of the building, and I think some on the side, if I recall correctly. But certainly the back of the building, which typically is not a big issue for many commercial structures, obviously is here because the back of the building faces the rail trail. So the applicant has applied to the ZBA for a variance for the size of the peaked roof. That's important here for a couple of reasons. One of which is obviously if they don't get the variance, they'll have to have a different shape to the building in order to lower the height. The ZBA expressed some concern about the visual impact from the change, which the applicant believes has been satisfied by some revised plans and rendering, but the ZBA won't review that until their October 12th meeting. The ZBA cannot act, because this is a coordinated seeker review, until you complete seeker. So there is some balancing there that the board needs to address to try to complete seeker so that the ZBA will be able to take their action, so that then you can take with that variance your final action after that. So there's the new renderings that you should discuss and ask questions about, especially with respect to the landscaping and the screening. Also, the as I recall, the only outstanding issue on seeker review was with respect to traffic. That there was a traffic report as part of their expanded Part 3, EAF Part 3, provided by the applicant, by Creighton Manning. And that was going to be, it has been responded to by PDE, which has stated, I'm not really stealing any thunder, that some more information needs to be had with respect to the project as to traffic. And I'll let the traffic engineer address that when we get to that issue. But that's some additional information that you need to get and address before you complete seeker. And I think that's it.
Okay, so we need to start by reviewing the plans and the and how the plans work to specifically hide or mask or buffer against the rail trail, and then how the waste area is covered, and then the other plantings that were to go, I guess it was in the front, is that correct? So let's start here with reviewing the site plans. And Andy, feel free to show it on the screen, the different plantings, and Ms. Travis, you can speak to that if you would, please.
All right, so yeah, John, if it's okay with you, we'll just kind of go through the whole heat pumps, how we handled it, and what it's going to look like, and the landscaping that we changed to try to screen it. So I'll kind of describe it in a simple way, and then I'm going to turn it over to Kim Hoover, the architect, and she can talk about the elevation views and the screening, and then Eileen can get into the landscaping. So these heat pumps are, they're great, they're really efficient, but the downside is you have to have all these different units outside. So here, all the units are going to be mounted on the building close to the ground, and you can see them here. We put as many as we could on the back of the building, and there are a couple on the sides and a couple on the front. And I am going to let Kim describe how we're going to screen those.
Where are they on the front? I don't see those in the front.
Okay, just these two up here in the front corner.
Southeast corner, they're located.
They'll have, Eileen's gonna put stone in front of those.
Yeah, I thought that some nice stone walls in front of those would do a good job screening them.
Okay, so this is the proposed freestanding stone wall, is that correct? Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, that would be in front of the units, yes.
Okay.
And let me show you the elevation. Let's see. Okay, so that would be this view here. So it would be a stone wall to match the foundation materials on the building. So essentially you'd be looking, this is what you would see, would be behind them.
And are those going to be for screening all of the units, both front and back, or just for the front?
Okay, so that's just for the front. And then
Andy, could I ask you a question right now? For the front units, they're right under the windows. Is that going to be a commercial space within the building or residential?
Commercial.
Okay.
Right, those windows won't open.
Okay, and then the rear of the building, we had a different idea. Let's see. Nope, wrong way. Was to have it basically a fence with slats in it. And this isn't shown. You could see the units behind it, but you're really not going to see them. We put them there as sort of, so you could see where they would be, but you're really not going to see them only through those small slats in between. So essentially it's going to be a fence with hardy board materials, the quality siding they're going to use on the building with a certain accent color that Kim and Eileen picked for that. So they're basically, it's going to be a fenced-in enclosure to essentially completely hide them.
But the idea is that it's we have so many that we just decided to make it an architectural element. And so the idea is that there are dark brown. The main body of the building is a whitish color, just off-white with a little bit of, it leans, if I had to lean one way, it would lean tan. And so this dark brown will look really nice with that. And we just decided to make it an accent rather than like really just trying to hide stuff. We need to make it part of the building.
Any comment from the board on those?
I think it's a good approach.
Do those renderings show these modifications, or was that done before this?
That was done before.
Yeah. Yeah, these were done early on when we first presented the project.
Okay, and so the screening on the rear of the building is going to be mostly hidden by the landscaping as well. Is that correct?
Correct. So then on top of that, I'll let, let's see if I can do this. I'll let Eileen modify the landscape plan to further screen it. And I will let Eileen talk about that.
So what I tried to do is I kept the same plant palette because we had a lot of really nice native plants already selected. And so on the back side, I just had to basically rearrange things. We do have to have access gates on all of these fencing, the screening, feature. But we have low grasses, tall grasses, we have shrubs, all the same plant palette that I had proposed before. It's just basically reorganized because I had to, work around where the gates were and where we would require, maintenance access to be possible for these units. So it's a very nice selection of grasses, perennials, a few evergreens, but different heights in grasses. I think that grasses are a great application for this particular type of building because they're easy to maintain and they still look good. In the front, it's largely the same as what we had proposed before, where we have grasses, a mixture of grasses, deciduous shrubs, as well as long blooming perennials. Different heights grasses again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that was just his chair.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Out to the corner on the north side, everything else around the site is the same. This area had to change significantly because I realized that we had plantings within the view triangle for the corner. And obviously I didn't want to impede the view in any way. So we have to sneak the refuse enclosure a little bit. We need to locate it in a little bit different location there. It needs to move a little bit further west. But I switched trees. I made these the, oh geez, I can't remember. I switched the Amelanchier and the red bud trees. These are the red bud trees, and I move the ambulance to the south side of the building in the parking lot area because they have very low, ambulance have very low branching, and the red buds, at least, they will not impede the view of drivers in the vicinity. So there along the sidewalk are the shad blow, as well as all grasses underneath there. It's going to be quite a beautiful location, actually. I think it's going to look real nice. And it'll be a nice kind of a framework. In the spring, that'll be very light. It'll be quite beautiful because they're very early blooming. And the red buds are very pink, kind of a almost towards purple on the north side. And I think they're just going to look terrific with the building. So.
And then we also changed the dumpster to match the screening on the building. So it's going to be that hardy board to match. And this may end up going in the corner, actually, due to some of the truck turning templates that were brought up. So we're going to try to push this over, actually. But the dumpster will match the screening.
Are you proposing to move the dumpster to the corner? Is that, or am I?
We are going to try. One of the comments from the traffic engineer was turning templates. I didn't think a dumpster could get here. So if that is the case, we are going to try to put it over here, which I think would work better.
So how are you planning to mask that from view of the rail trail? Because there's nothing like walking down a beautiful rail trail and getting to look and smell a horrible dumpster.
Yeah, I don't know there's any real great place for it. This one's right next to the trail as well. But if the board prefers it here, I figured it'd be better, but less visible. But you're right, it'd be more visible from the rail trail, less visible from the road.
And regardless of the well-intentioned individuals, dumpsters tend to look pretty awful regardless of where they are. So
well, we could add more of the taller grasses around the backside if it wouldn't take a lot to cover that area if that's what you would request. I think that they would do fine in that area.
So if we're going to move it to that back corner, you have two trees that are currently listed as being there. Is that correct?
Correct.
Those are proposed, right?
Okay. So if you were to place the dumpster back in that corner, and you're going to have a fencing, I'm assuming, that's going to surround the back part of it so that it isn't visible from the rail trail. Is that
right? So no matter where we put it, it's going to be completely surrounded by the fencing to match the screening on the building.
And would you be able to put trees behind that screening or something that would hide the dumpster? And you're saying that you just want to put grasses, is that correct?
I think that we're kind of running out of room for like an evergreen. I think that that's what you would want, right? An evergreen.
Right.
Yeah, I think that it would end up being not planted on the property. So that one red maple would have to get moved north a little bit. And then we could add, we're going to have to rework that area because there's some stormwater and some lighting there. But I think that we could certainly grow vines on the fencing if that's something that would be amenable. That wouldn't be too hard to do.
You mean like morning glory?
No, well, yeah, I mean, that's an annual vine and they actually reseed very well. So morning glories are actually beautiful. They're blooming now. It's really kind of nice. I always love seeing them. But we could also do some perennial vines as well. I mean, I know that sweet autumn clematis is considered invasive in some areas, but that would certainly do well. It's not hard to maintain. We could do trumpet vines, or I don't want to do wisteria because they're too destructive. But you know, vines like that, I think would even 5-leaf, like a Parthenocissus quinquefolia, would also do well too. So you know, those are the kinds of things that they would definitely lose their leaves in the winter, but during the bulk of the season when people are out riding their bikes, at least we could have something there. We could do, so I don't know if that's a possibility, what you would think about that. I think that that's something that could be easily done.
I mean, if the board prefers the dumpster here, if that's better, I had just assumed it would be better here, but that maybe that's not a good assumption. So if this is a better spot, then I can, you know, I think I could probably make it work with the truck turning template somehow.
So did our traffic, and feel free to speak up on this, the traffic study stated that there's not a significant area for a truck turning in if we put the dumpster right there? Is that what we're hearing?
Yeah, so what our comment was, where it is now for a truck, for a garbage truck to load, it really can't get at the right angle to pick up the trash. So, I mean, Andy can look at different things of rolling out something and having it picked up that way or something to that effect, if it's to stay where it is.
I think the corner is fine. I just want to make sure that people who are walking down the rail trail aren't looking at a dumpster that's not being well cared for, because eventually none of them are. So I just want to make sure that if we're gonna mask it, then that we do a good job on it. I mean, I'm fine with the corner, just I want to make sure that it's well masked.
Okay.
And the idea is the trumpet vines, the morning glories, I think sound great. So we can move on. We don't need to get stuck on a dumpster location for the rest of the night. So are the other question I have is, and perhaps you mentioned it, I think you did, but I didn't fully absorb it. On the entrance to Mulberry Street, it appears that there are 2 trees that are proposed there. Is that correct?
Yes.
And will those trees block or make difficult the turning onto Mulberry Street headed towards North Chestnut? Will it block the view?
They're proposed to be Eastern Redbud, which are actually not very dense trees as far as leaf matter. I think that once they get to a certain size, they can be easily limbed up to, you know, avoid any conflict of view. And normally they don't get very large. So I think that I think it's a suitable tree for the area. If you would prefer a larger tree, we can certainly do that, but I'm hesitant
I just want to make sure it doesn't block the view from Mulberry Street.
Yeah, I think my gut feeling is it'll be fine. I'm hesitant to put in a larger tree because of all the overhead wires, because they'll get so badly pruned, which is actually one of my huge pet peeves. So
that's fair enough. Okay. Any more questions from anybody on the board? Otherwise, I think the plan looks good.
I'm curious about the grasses. How tall do the grasses get? And are they flowering, or what kind of grass are you talking about?
That's a good question. The grasses that I selected are warm and cool season grasses. They all do flower. They are not the variety that don't. I think that that's one of the beauties of grasses, is actually the flowers this time of year. So I believe I have 3 different varieties. One is very low. It stays under 18 inches. One is approximately 2 feet. And there are two other ones that are much larger. One is 4 feet and one gets approximately 5 to 6 feet in flower. So the one that's along the back property line on the west side is the one that gets the tallest, because I thought that that would provide the best screening. It's actually some of the quickest growing grasses in that area. So those are big blue stems, which is a very tall. It's going to get approximately 5 to 6 feet in height. So. And they're easy to maintain. Honestly, that's the beauty of grasses, is that when you plant them, when you plant a space like this, you got to also consider maintenance. If you put in plants that need a lot of maintenance, I have found that things tend to not be a success. So you want to put things that are extremely low maintenance, which grasses actually fit that bill.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was listening to all those conversations and given the importance of landscaping generally and also near these adjacent roadways, I could add a condition if the board wants to any resolution of approval that the trees and other landscaping must be maintained in a healthy and vibrant condition in perpetuity. Additionally, trees and other landscaping near the adjacent roadways must be maintained and pruned in such a fashion so as not to impede traffic sight distances.
Sounds good to me.
I think that's an excellent idea. Any other discussion from the board on any of the plantings, any of the landscape architecture?
No, nothing more for me.
No.
All right. Well, thank you for that. So we're going to be moving on a little bit, and I think we're going to hear now from, I guess what we really need to try to do, and everyone to understand, is that we want to try to push forward on the seeker process as much as possible, so that we can get them an opportunity to get or not approval for the variance that they are requesting from the ZBA, because they can't really do anything until we finish seeker. But with the outstanding issues, we can't complete seeker, make a determination of significance until the traffic issues are complete. So that means that right now we're going to need to hear from our traffic consultant, if you would please. Can you take us through that portion, please?
And Andy, can you put up the site plan again?
Sure.
So we prepared a memo that was sent to everyone recently. And just to summarize the memo, from a pure traffic, in terms of traffic volumes and capacity and impacts, the project will not have a significant impact on traffic per se on the adjacent roadway networks. Most of our we had some technical comments about the traffic analysis that we're recommending get fixed, and the DOT will require the same to get adjusted. But they won't really have too much impact on the findings in terms of traffic itself. In terms of more issues are related to the site plan itself. And two quick questions for Andy. Is there any idea of what the end users of the commercial properties may be? Like, is it going to be a Starbucks versus a quality restaurant?
Yes, so we, these are the uses that, we actually have a response prepared for you. You haven't seen it yet, but these are the uses. The way the zoning is in this district, you have to propose all the specific uses that you want, and they're all special use permits. So these are all the ones that we're proposing. We don't have any coffee shop or restaurants or anything like that. They're all either office or retail or service business.
Okay. And can the commercial uses be accessed from the back, or do they all have to be accessed from the front?
No, they can. We're not gonna. There's not gonna be a restriction on who can park where. It's pretty difficult to do.
No,
Right.
but can they get in the building from the back, or do they have to walk around to the front?
No, so you can't get in the building from the back. You have to park and then walk around the sidewalk to the front.
Okay. Okay, so in terms of the site plan, one of our concerns is they do meet the parking requirements, but to do that, they require the 7 on-street parking spaces along North Chestnut Street. Since that's a DOT roadway, DOT is gonna have to comment on that, whether they'll permit it or not. Sometimes DOT does allow parking on their streets, sometimes they've been hesitant on doing so. And also with those parking spaces, since they're essentially on the street, they're not essentially reserved for the site. So people who may be wanting to use the trail may park in some of these spaces. Because then they could park there and get on the trail from there. So there's not the control of those parking spaces. But the key thing with that is it's got to get to DOT to get their feedback as soon as possible. Because then that affects the parking calculations. We talked about the garbage trucks and the SU-30, which is a single unit 30 delivery truck. It's tight for them to get through here. But do you know what size truck you'd be expecting, Andy?
I don't expect it to be large based upon these businesses. Probably the largest would be like a U-Haul type of or FedEx truck.
If I may, we do have a truck expert on the board. So Dennis, given the type of businesses that they are talking about, which are on the site plan, and they include bicycle shop, gifts, craft stationery, limited retail businesses, offices, general and professional, specialty foods, toy hobby shop, non-accessible first floor residential. So given those items that they have there, how big of a truck do you think is going to be going in there? And did Dennis leave us?
You talking to me?
Yes, I am. You're our truck expert, buddy.
Yeah, well, based upon those, you're going to see, well, I'll tell you right now, it's going to be a non-CDL truck, 26,000 GVW and less. It'll be approximately 18 to 22 feet in length, the body, and it'll be something similar to a Ford Transit or a small, as I say, a small box truck. So it certainly isn't going to be a big vehicle that'll be going in there to service those types of businesses.
And those
So
size trucks
I
can
can't
make it through.
Yeah, they can make it through easily.
There you go. From
Okay.
the expert to you.
All right. And we're also suggesting the fire department and emergency services look at the plan in terms of their access to the building, since there's parking surrounding, separating the building from the access roads on 3 of the sides. So that was another recommendation.
On that recommendation, a lot of times, I don't know how it is specifically with Village of New Paltz, but many times when an applicant request some input by ESOs, fire department, ambulance, et cetera. It's not always met with very quick responses or responses at all. It may be better, and given this building and its impact and relationship to the roadways and rail trail, it may be good for the planning board through Alana to reach out to at least the fire department, if not an ambulance as well, to get their input on this application prior to the time that you would be addressing it, which would be either your 11/2 meeting or somewhere around there.
Corey, who is also the building inspector, is the chief of the fire department. William Murray, who is the liaison here, is also a member of the fire department. So Alana, would you mind addressing those two individuals directly, or if you would like for me to, I can certainly get them.
Oh, I can do it. Am I contacting the police department too, or you think just fire is okay? I mean, I know enough people in both entities that I could probably push them to get me an answer on this fairly quickly.
I think that
From traffic point, it would just be fire.
Just fire.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I could get an answer from Corey in the next few days, probably, if I bug him enough.
Please feel free to bug him.
The next item was, since on Mulberry, you're only going to be permitted to take a right turn out. It might be better if, as the right-hand turn, it does have some bend in it, but also to maybe take the top part of that driveway and bend it slightly, just to further encourage vehicles to turn right. Andy may have to put some of that as a mountable curb if a truck would need for it to make the turn. But if you could narrow the exit out there and kind of angle it for a vehicle to go right, it would be more, it won't stop everyone, but it would be more encouraging to drivers that they have to turn right. And one of the things in the traffic study mentions restriping the striped area along North Chestnut to provide a left turn lane. So in that striped area at Mulberry. Andy, this was going to be Mulberry, right?
Yeah, you're talking about the left turn lane?
Yeah, or is it going to be there?
It's here, yeah.
Okay, so if that could be indicated on a plan and DOT would have to approve that.
Yeah.
Now, you have the bike symbol there. Is that going to be a bike storage area? Bike rack or?
Yep.
Okay. And does
So
it?
will that site move with the, because it was right next to the refuse container, will that be moving with the container?
That's something that really, we can get into on site plan. We can put those wherever we want them. I figured somewhere near the trail, but I don't know. I'm open to suggestions.
Yeah, the DOT may also, with the crossing from the trail across North Chestnut Street, they may ask for RRFBs or some other enhancements, but that'll also be a state DOT call. They've been asking for them more often lately. RRFBs are where you press the button and it's a rapid rectangular flashing beacon. So you have a crossing sign, but it has two beacons flashing underneath it to show that someone's trying to cross there.
And this is on, and this is on the crosswalk, or?
The crosswalk across North Chestnut Street there.
Okay.
just to the left of your mouse, Sandy. Yeah, this one. And also with right where Andy's mouse is also right. Can you explain how that's going to line up? The shared path is going to line up with the road at that point? Is there any separation or stripe or?
So the part that we probably didn't explain well enough to you for your review is all of this work is not part of this site plan. So although this applicant is providing an easement through here, the village is actually building this and the crosswalk, and this is part of a bigger, much larger project for the Henry Du Bois Penn DOT project. So we're showing this really for illustrative purposes to show the board how this is all going to work. But Roddy, this applicant, is not building any of this. So how we want to show it, and I talked to Rick about this, is to show this as by others. This is for illustrative purposes only. This work is not part of the site plan.
All right, so if you could put the by others on the plan.
Yeah, will do. But you're right, all of that stuff has to be dealt with, just not by others.
But put it as to be installed by others rather than just by others.
Right.
And as I said, the other stuff was mainly some technical comments that really aren't going to have much effect on the findings. But does anyone have any questions for me?
No, that's all quite a bit. So we're essentially going to have to wait for the Department of Transportation to reply to some of these. Is that correct?
Yes. Has Perm 33 been submitted yet, Andy? Do you know?
No, because typically one of the first things they ask is for the seeker determination before they get into it. So I know all these questions are going to come up. No matter kind of what we decide here, the DOT is really going to be the last word of anything on this right away. And we do want to get into it with them, but we haven't, because we wanted a complete seeker and show them that seeker was done before we get into all the details.
And let me weigh in for a second on that issue. At the beginning of Brian's presentation, he said something that I think is very significant and may allow the board to move forward on seeker and complete seeker. Brian, let me know if I misinterpreted what you said, but I heard Brian say that from a seeker perspective, this will not have a significant impact on traffic.
Correct.
And I think with that conclusion, I think the board actually can conclude seeker, because that's the only remaining issue that there was, and that the remaining traffic issues will simply be site plan issues that will have to be addressed both before and after the DOT weighs in. But that will also allow, if the board concludes seeker, that will allow the ZBA to proceed to even a conclusion at their next meeting if they're so inclined.
So how do we proceed then on seeker? This would be we were waiting for a decision, so it's not going, it's no significance.
Right. So where we are right now from the prior meeting is that you went through at prior meetings,
Right.
you went through the EAF part 2, and there seemed to be no real issues, that is, no significant adverse environmental impacts, except potentially with respect to traffic. And as to traffic, you required some additional information and traffic reports, which you have now received. If this board now feels, based upon the conclusion that Brian from your consultant PDE concludes, that there is no significant adverse environmental impact with respect to the traffic that would result from this project, that would allow you to take a vote to say, as to this remaining item and now to everything, that as to this project, there are no significant adverse environmental impacts, and make a determination of significance of a negative declaration. And I can draft up a negative declaration for the file for you, but you could take that action this evening if you wanted to.
Okay, so let's stop right there before we go any farther. Does everybody on the board understand what we're talking about right now?
Yes.
I do.
Okay,
Yes.
so what we're going to want to do, and now may be a good time, and Rick, correct me if I'm wrong, now may be a good time to revisit the seeker and go for a motion of no significant environmental impact resulting in a negative declaration.
Yes.
So I would like a motion for a finding of no significant environmental impact, not only with respect to traffic, but for the entire seeker, and a negative declaration for the seeker for this application.
So motion.
Sorry, John, just before we do the motion, maybe we could just go around the board and see if there are any comments about the EAF part 3, just to make sure
Sure.
we're all on the same page.
Sure.
I mean, I'll go first. I personally, I read through it, and the only concern I really had was about the traffic. And so after reading the report from PDE, I feel pretty comfortable with the negative declaration. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it was, I think that it was very thorough, and it touched on all the points that we had discussed, and it's just unfortunate that we have to wait for DOT to come back with a lot of information. But that is just how the process works. Dennis, do you have any comments that you would like to provide?
Well, I went through the EAF. I've visited the site a number of times. I think it's a tremendous project. I think it's going to enhance that NBR zone. I think it's a big, big benefit to New Paltz. And I think we should support this application as much as we possibly can as the planning board. And I'm all for closing out and giving them the approval on seeker.
Okay, Rachel, anything that you want to add to the conversation on this?
No, I'm fine with it. I'm the provision for the tree maintenance and more trees. It's all good.
Okay, we'll certainly do that. And Zach, that is a good point. I think that rather than just rushing through it, everyone needs to state their opinion. And I am satisfied with the job that our consultant PDE has done on this. So with that in mind, I'd like to get a motion of no significant environmental impact resulting in a negative declaration for the seeker for this application and project.
So motion.
Second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So with that, we have given a negative declaration to the seeker for this project, for this application, and now the ZBA can complete their part of the process. And that's a huge step for the board and for the project. So now, Rick, if you want to continue on, and we can look at the other items that we need to complete here, or Brian, if you want to look at the complete your section as well.
No, I'm pretty much done until we hear back from DOT. So if they can have even a pre-meeting, even before the perm 33 is submitted, just to get some initial feedback. The key thing is the on-street parking, and whether DOT is going to be okay with that. There's some other tweaks, like the curb ramp at, and it was just shown for illustration purposes, but the curb ramp at the intersection of North Chestnut and Mulberry may have to get revised so that, to meet current ADA standards. But those are all smaller things. The key thing is the whether they'll permit the parking along the street.
Okay.
And
That
Brian-
would- So there's 21 without that, 28 with those 7 spots, correct?
Yes.
Correct. And just so the board knows, we, very early on, we brought this layout, and I actually looked back, and it hasn't really changed all that much since the beginning, but the DOT saw this layout, and they had a lot of input initially, and it was really their idea to do this one way in, one way out. And they know about the street parking, and we'll prove all that to the board, obviously. And the parking, we kind of followed the model of zero place as far as street parking.
Right.
And counting it towards the building and all that. So we kind of just followed what DOT approved and what this board approved for zero place. But we actually have a pretty comprehensive response to all your comments, Brian, already prepared. And we're going to submit that to you, to the board later this week. And I think if it makes sense, we'll just submit that whole package, including the response to you, to the DOT with the PermCom, and just get that process going, and then we'll keep the board up to date on what the DOT comments are.
Good.
Rick, you look like you want to weigh in on something here.
Yeah, there's just one other issue that I think needs to be addressed. I mean, obviously, Andy needs to make some modifications in the next iteration of the site plan. And now that we also have here the landscaping architect, and I have this in my notes that I provided to you, Andy, with respect to in the NBR district in particular, there's code provisions concerning landscaping, the 212-13G15. And one of these is that site trees should be no smaller than 3-inch caliper diameter, 4 feet in height. And footnote 4 in the planting schedule of yours, which references this requirement, should be included after the apple serviceberry trees. And you also indicated that the requirement does not apply to the heritage river birch. And I think you need to clarify those issues since it's a code requirement.
So those particular trees aren't typically measured. The American Association of Nurserymen Standards will measure trees at DBH for certain varieties, like large oak trees, large maple trees like a red maple, northern red oak, even like a tupelo that we put in at Andy's office. Those are all trees that get very large that are typically measured or can be measured at a 3-inch diameter DBH, which is diameter at breast height, which is typically approximately 4 feet off the ground. So river birch, I like to plant river birch that are multi-stem, which are measured in height, feet in height, not diameter of trunks. So the American Association of Nurserymen Standards has had this standard in existence since the early 1900s, and it's not anything new. It's just certain trees are measured certain ways, other trees are measured other ways. So the river birch, Amelanchier are typically measured in feet in height, as well as like a red bud, because they are smaller growing trees. They don't get as large as like a red maple or an oak. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes, eminent sense. The trouble that the planning board has is that this is a requirement of the code, and they don't have the ability to go ahead and waive that. So I think that if you have some note, if this is acceptable to the planning board, if you have some note on that plan saying that the height of these is roughly the equivalent of a 3-inch diameter, because of the type of species that you're dealing with, then I think the board would be able to approve that. But you somehow have to show or proving that you are complying with the MBR district regulations. And maybe the MBR district regulations ought to be modified, but this board can't do that.
And I certainly understand and appreciate that. I do want to say, though, that I run across this issue a lot in landscaping codes because they're not written by landscape architects. So, but I think that what we can do is do the equivalent, like you had suggested. And, but I just want the board to be aware, just as a point of education, that different trees are measured in different ways. And that's where the difficulty comes, because when a contractor sees a specified tree height, they're like, well, that tree's not measured that way. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it makes it a little bit harder to get the right plant in.
Well, if you
in
can
the
put a
right
note
place.
talking about the equivalency of the height of these versus the code provision caliber DBH, it's up to the planning board, but I think the planning board at least would have a colorable basis to go ahead and approve it in that fashion.
Okay.
Are they also having difficulty in finding trees of that diameter? I understood from some other projects that it's difficult to find trees of 3-inch diameter at this point.
Well, I typically, honestly, they're normally trees that are planted are not measured at DBH. That's normally for something that's like you're measuring existing trees on an existing site. That's like a surveyor's going out and measuring them. Like that's, oh, it's 15 inches DBH. That's where the measurement typically is. Nursery trees are not typically measured in this fashion. And so that makes it a little bit harder to find things, because 3 inches at DBH, which is a good sized tree, you know, to start out, it's not a particularly small tree. Sometimes nursery growers just don't have them in that size because it's not an uncommon size, but because it's not uncommon, as far as a request, there's not a lot of stock involved. And there's a lot of growers going out of business in the last couple of years. So it makes it really hard to find any of these types of trees at this height.
Okay.
And diameter.
I think taking the advice of making the equivalency note, that should suffice, unless anybody on the board has an argument against that. No, it seems we do not. Okay. Sorry, Rick, go ahead and finish up there. I'm sorry to steal.
No, I think that's it. That was the other issue that I have. I think we addressed the other issues. That just let me confirm again on landscaping, the Shade Tree Commission has approved this. Is that correct, Andy?
Yes, I think Alana, we actually weren't there, but Alana, I think you were there, right? And they approved it, as I understand.
Yeah, I wasn't there, but they discussed it at the meeting, and it says I have the minutes in the application folder from July 8th.
Okay.
And they
Thank
said, SDC is in agreement and approves of the landscaping planting shown on the site plan.
Okay.
Thank you, Alana.
Yeah.
I have nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so we have covered quite a bit of information, and we've gotten a seeker. We've approved of the landscaping. We have the traffic study, which has been done. We're waiting on some information from that. So what do you think our next steps there from our attorney? What do you believe our next steps are? Really, we're just, I think the next thing we do is we're looking at the these special use narratives. We also are going to be looking at the affordable housing plan at our next meeting.
Yeah, that's something you may want to ask the applicant to make a submission on. That's a good point. And that is that we have to deal, the board has to deal. I don't want to be so presumptuous as saying we. The board has to deal with the issue of location of the affordable housing, the number of affordable housing units. And so I think, Andy, you need to make a submission with respect to that. This board did that on the net zero project, where they reviewed where the affordable housing units are going to be located within the building. and also make sure that the number of affordable housing is as required under the code. Obviously, the location of the affordable housing units is not something that the board normally gets into with respect to floor plans, but it's to make sure that the affordable housing isn't put into some undesirable corner of the building or something all by itself. And so you can look at the code and see how it ought to be dispersed, come up with a plan for that and the number of units, citing what you believe is authority for the position that you're taking under the code. And then the board can review that and move forward on that issue. Obviously, you will be, the applicant, part of the resolution of approval will be a determination of recreation fees, because it's not something that is large enough to, you clearly are adding to the need by having this many more people in a building. And there's no place on the site to go ahead and put any public recreation. So therefore, it would be a finding by the board, likely that it would be simply subject to the payment in lieu fee. And that would simply be whatever's on the Board of Trustees schedule times the number of units that you have, which is, I think, 15 units overall. Yeah.
So we actually did submit a affordable housing plan and the special use permit narrative, but back a couple months ago. But we can resubmit that. I know the board, we had a lot of other stuff going on, just trying to do seeker. So
Did it include a floor plan?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
on the floor plan, we labeled, there's one on the first floor in the middle, and then a second one on the second floor in the southeast corner.
And there's only a requirement for 2 under the code requirements?
Yeah.
Right, 10%.
Okay. Well, if you've already submitted that, then the board should look at that. I apologize, I didn't recall that.
Yeah, I didn't catch that either. And that is on the proposed floor plans, is that correct?
It's actually a separate document. It was a 8.5 by 11 narrative with an attached floor plan to it. It was a separate
And
document.
it is on the plan, it is on the floor plans that you have now too, but yeah, there's a separate document as well.
That would be, just for my benefit, please. Where is it on the first floor?
It's the apartment in the middle. Let me see if I can find the number.
Yes, okay. Apartment 102, 1 bedroom affordable unit A.
Yep.
So that's one there. And then
The other one is 202, a 2-bedroom. Corner unit.
202, 201. Yes, okay. That's a 2-bedroom affordable unit.
Okay.
And then lastly, you're only required to have 2?
Yeah, I believe it's 10%.
Right. We only have 15 units.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a little narrative that we put together to go with the affordable housing plan.
Yeah, if you could resubmit that, and now that we have these, we can look at that. Also, your handicap, where you have one handicap, unit 101, is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
And that's the only one?
Yes.
Okay, so if you would please, we could get the resubmission on that, and that way we can look at it, discuss it, and get that settled for our next meeting.
Okay.
Do you think you want this to be on the October 19th agenda or?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's good with Andy?
Yeah,
Okay,
That way we can at least get started on it and that way we can, well, when does the ZBA meet?
They meet on the 12th,
yeah, on Tuesday.
but when does Andy need to have these plans in by in order to be on the 19th? The revisions that we've talked about.
At least a week prior generally is how we do it, so it would be like Monday, which is also Columbus Day, Village is closed, but.
So say Tuesday. Are you able to do it on Tuesday?
so I'm trying to think, and there wasn't that much, right?
Well, if you submit it by Tuesday, it'll be put on the agenda for the 19th. If you don't submit it by Tuesday, then it will go to the next planning board meeting.
I'm just trying to go through my notes and how much changes we really need to make.
Well, part of it is an analysis of whether you're going to put the dumpster as one of the issues.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you are going to put it in the back, as was noted by one of your fellow consultants, is that you may have to do some other adjustments with respect to the light pole and the, I think it was a drainage facility that's back there.
Okay, yeah, it doesn't look like there's that much, so that works for us.
Can we go through those and just summarize them so we can make sure that we're all on the same page?
Sure. So I have rearranged the dumpster location per our discussions with screening and show that the truck turning templates work with that location. I have you guys are going to put a condition on the landscaping. That's not really something for us. It's what you're going to put on it as far as them surviving. The fire department.
You're going to add that note on the landscaping with respect to the height of certain trees.
Yep, the caliper issue will
Correct,
address.
Yes.
The fire departments, I don't know if they'll have their review back by then, but Lana's going to forward it to Corey.
I sent it to him just now, so.
There you go.
There's nobody more efficient than Alana.
I know you sit pretty close to him too. You can nudge him.
Oh yeah, I yelled him every time, so it's fine.
We're going to adjust the right onto Mulberry to bend the radius a little bit on the left per Brian's suggestion. We're going to show the striping of the left turn lane on. That is one improvement that's going to be needed to going. I don't know if the board understood that. Going northbound on 32, there's just a striped, and you get to the light, there's a striped area. That is going to be a left turn lane to go into the site now. That's the only modification to the traffic change for this. So we'll show that. We're going to show that it's installed by others, the different improvements on the trail that we're not doing and the light. Lands. Okay. Resubmit affordable housing plan, and that's what I had.
I didn't have anything else.
Okay. Well, Brian, thank you very much for being here, and we look forward to getting that information back from DOT. That'll be a task. Ms. Travis, thank you very much for your input. Ms. Hoover, thank you as always for attending. So you guys are off to the ZBA to finish that on our next meeting. Brian, you're muted. Brian, you're muted.
Yeah. No.
Still muted, Brian.
Thank you.
There we go.
Andy, if you could copy the village on what's submitted to DOT so they can keep track of where it's, and if you get any correspondence back from them.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So that was very good work tonight on this application. Thank you all for being here and for doing the hard work. So we are completed with you, and good luck to you, and we'll talk to you soon about it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank everybody.
thanks for everybody for your hard work and cooperation. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Thank you. And so with that, the next item on our agenda is to look, are there any other public comments that have come through, Alana?
No.
Okay, so we're going to close off the public comments now. And the last item is that we need a motion to adjourn.
So motioned.
I was going to say, we can stay here all night. Second? Do we have a second? And Rachel raises her hand. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So thank you all. The meeting is done. Do appreciate your work, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Night, guys.
Good night,
Aye.
Alana. Thank you.